Hey guys, welcome back to our second chat in our personal development club. This one based on morning routines, and myself and Chris are just going to shoot the breeze a little bit about morning routines, ask each other a few questions, kind of in a little bit of an informal manner. So, Chris, what do you think? You enjoy Module 2?
Great, yeah. It's one of my favourite modules in that I think mornings are the most important part of the day, and I think it's an area of students' lives that probably needs most addressing, I would say, at the most. So it's always good to share that kind of the insights that we've kind of gathered over the last few years. It's always fun.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think the morning is a massive opportunity to change the student's day and to thus change every single thing that happens.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you a couple of questions. The first one I was going to say is, it's not exactly related to you, but it's related to a student, but it's based on your opinion.
Yeah.
What, of all the stuff that we spoke about in this Module 2, what would you say, what one nugget, one piece would you say will be the most valuable for a student in 5th or 6th year in school? If you just had to pick one thing, what could give them the most value?
Okay, so one thing to do in the morning before they start their day, just one thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, right, that's an interesting question. Right, I would say it's to get into the habit of journaling, right? Journaling. What I mean by journaling, it sounds kind of a little bit like a cliche, but it's a little bit more straightforward than that. What I mean is to get a piece of paper like this and a pen like that and to start planning their day, okay? So the first thing they do is get a piece of paper and a pen and write down what they want to do that day, okay? And that's so important because I think students they get up, a lot of people, I say students, I think a lot of people, and this is something I was guilty of for 30 years, they start their day without a real plan, in that they kind of just let the day happen and they kind of let the demands of other people kind of interrupt them, and they end up kind of not really getting what they want done, out of the way, but rather responding to other people's kind of requests, right? So what I'd say to them is get out a piece of paper, okay? On that piece of paper, write in what you plan on doing and when you're planning on doing it, okay? Now, obviously, with a student, for example, your day's planned for you, to a certain degree. You have to be in school from 9 in the morning till 4 p.m. in the evening. Then you might have a grind after school, or maybe a football or hockey practice. That's great. Write those things in, okay? Write those in and write the times that they occur. Okay, but if you were to plan out your day, if you had 24 hours in a day and you were to fill in the things that are pre-planned for you, like your classes and your extracurricular, you'd see very quickly that there's loads of space there. There's before you get to school, there's a bit of time there. There's a lunch time, there's a bit of time there. There's after school, there's time there. And you got to ask yourself, what are you doing at that time? And I'd say to students, try and fill those nuggets of time, those little kind of free periods, with things that you plan on getting done, things that are on your to-do list, things that are important for your goals, right? So, for example, like we talked about goal setting in the first module, and goals can be across every area of your life, like we said. Obviously, for a student in the Leaving Cert is going to be the big one. That's the big goal there. But they might have other goals, like learn how to play a musical instrument, learn how to get, fitter, learning how to read, just reading more, whatever it is. And a lot of the time, we let those things kind of be pushed by the wayside and I'll get round to it, eventually. I'll leave it to the end of the day. You generally won't. You'll kind of make excuses. But if you sit down in the morning, first thing, you have your plan, you go, right, but from 8 o'clock till 7:30, I'm going to make a bit of time to read a book, or I'm going to, I'm going to go for a jog, or I'm going to practice the guitar for half an hour. It's very, very valuable to make time for your goals, by planning. To give them time, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you won't. So I think planning is probably the most valuable kind of takeaway from the Personal Development Club Module 2 and morning routines. And the other reason why planning is so important is it gives you the opportunity to give the day real purpose, rather than just waking up, going into school, and letting the day happen. If okay, I've got a couple of periods there that I'm not doing anything, I'm going to put in something really important there that I'm going to get done. And it gives you that little bit of kind of energy and purpose for the day that okay, I've got a bit of a mission today. It's kind of like, if you're playing a friendly, in football, it doesn't really matter. The match, it's good to get a bit of a run about the pitch, but if you're playing the final of a big championship, you're going to have a lot more purpose and you're going to play that game a lot differently than you would if you had no purpose for that game. And the same is true with your day. I think planning your day, making time for your goals is really, really important. So that's the one I'd say. Now, if I had to give one, it's that. But like, there's about 2 or 3 other massive things I put on top of that. But that's probably the keystone, I think, of any good day. A good day doesn't just happen. I think a good day is planned. That's what I say.
Interesting you say something there that, say the students, they have to be in a certain class at a certain time, or maybe they have a grind, or maybe they have training or anything. I actually think that's a massive advantage. I personally find when I'm planning out my days, if I actually have nothing on that day and I still have to do stuff, I find it hard to structure stuff around openness, nothing. But when I have, say, classes or I have school, I find that, okay, well, I see there's 2 hours where I can actually fit this in, versus here's 16 hours to try put everything in.
Yeah.
Well, what am I going to do first? And I know there's other tactics coming down to that.
It's kind of like going into a restaurant and there's 500 things on the menu. It makes the choice a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Because you have so many hours to pick from, you're like, geez, I have to fill all of these. Whereas if you only had like 2 or 3 hours to fill, it's more focused and it probably is easier to do so. So students are probably in an advantageous position because of that, as you said.
Yeah. That's what I think anyway. That's pretty interesting.
It's my turn.
Did you get a new watch?
I actually had this watch for a long time, like 10 years about this. I decided to wear it just for the podcast today. I thought I'd give it a go because, keep track of time and all that. The time planning, huh?
Yeah.
Yourself. But if I was to ask you a question then, and I saw you kind of looking at my questions, so I'm going to have to hide them over here.
Can't read that writing, mate.
Yeah, good.
You write with your left hand, does it?
Yeah, clearly. I want you to, I had a kind of similar question there that you asked me, and I might actually ask you to give me the same answer, to give me the same response. What is it from the Personal Development Club, Module 2? What takeaway would you give to students? Now, obviously, I've ticked off the planning box, but do you have another element from Module 2, i.e. another kind of strategy that you give students for their morning that would be very valuable?
Yep, I definitely 100% do, but I'm going to clump a few things that we spoke about in the club together. I think it's extremely important. You could go to the same class or the same grind, or you could do the same amount of work or the same essay or whatever, and get dramatically different results, and that all depends on how you show up. Okay, so how you show up mentally actually is related to how you show up physically. So I would suggest in the morning, this is what I do, because you're not going to jump out of bed dying to study Shakespeare or dying to do maths or whatever. You have got to prime yourself, and obviously we've got the instructions there, but stuff that we said, what I think has actually changed my mornings, and I know Dill will attest to this as well. I think attest is a word, but he will say the same, that thing that Will Robbins spoke about, and I'd actually been doing it for a while. I read it in a book by Aubrey Marcus, but it was about this morning cocktail where we had water, lemon and Himalayan salt, and I don't know if it's placebo or not, but I genuinely feel extremely, I just feel better. I feel more awake. I feel everything's more clear in my head. Maybe because I'm now hydrated, the lemon juice helps you hydrate. Maybe because there's a little tiny bit of sugar in it. Maybe because it's good quality minerals. People think salt's bad for you, but it's really, really good. If I don't have that, I actually just don't feel as good going into the gym or going into school. So I would say try to fix yourself up physically so you can actually perform mentally. So I would talk about hydration, sleep. Obviously we spoke about that here, so that's shown up physically, and then get some sort of movement in the morning. As you said, it doesn't have to be going to the gym or anything. In that book with Aubrey Marcus, he spoke about if it's just going for a 5-minute walk, or he talks about doing 15 push-ups, anything to get the blood flowing around your body from just laying still, just to kind of kickstart it and get going again. Because I know for a fact, the state you are in affects your results and affects what you do.
Totally.
Affects your choices. If you are in an empowered, energetic state, you're more likely to, let's just go tackle this project right now, or this thing we have to do, versus if you're tired and sluggish. And then also, even if you got yourself to tackle the project, you're just trying to get through it rather than actually make it the best it could be. So I would suggest is do everything you can to show up, to be physically prepared, which then helps you show up mentally. Yeah.
So it's these activities you're doing. What you're doing is you're kind of warming up the engine. You're warming up your body and mind for to get into a good state of mind to take on the day. I couldn't agree more. It's like making a decision when you're tired or hungry. You should never do that. You should only make a decision when you're charged and you're positive and you're optimistic and you're feeling kind of empowered.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about there is all about getting into a state like that. And that's the thing about morning routines. You can actually get yourself into states like that just with simple practices. Like, I think hydration, you said there, that's absolutely essential. Very, very important. Sleep, you mentioned too. Like, try missing a night's sleep and then studying for a test. Like, how well is that going to go? Or doing anything for that matter. And then finally moving. Yeah, couldn't agree more. You know, if students can get up in the morning, not like go to the gym for 2 hours, but like literally walk even. Just move, breathe fresh air. It does wonders for your mind and your body, absolutely. So yeah, that's great. I think a lot of value there. Yeah, certainly.
Like, not to fully just go into it, but like what I would do in the mornings, this is actually, I almost do this while I'm asleep. I get up, I go downstairs, I fill a shaker with water, I squeeze half a lemon into it, I put what's the small spoon? Is that a tablespoon? Teaspoon of salt. Tablespoon of salt.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that. So you're putting salt in, you put the salt onto the spoon and then into the thing. So like, would it be, like say if you're putting a sugar in your coffee, would it be the same amount of sugar but salt? Like a heaped spoon?
It'd be a heaped spoon, yeah. Because I weighed out, it was meant to be 3 to 4 grams.
Okay.
And I got it. It gets frustrating weighing out salt that early in the morning. So, if
it's in the shaker on the spoon, how do you shake it? Like
I don't know. So when I used to have it in the shaker, was the worst because you have the weighing. Well, my girlfriend has the weighing scales, and you're there shaking it, and then it's like, has it gone up a gram yet? Has it gone up? Yeah. So it just turned out to, once we got the bag, it was a simple solution to a small problem.
Nice.
To have, it was around a heaped teaspoon and put it in, and you have to mix it around. And at the start, the first couple of days, it was like, this is disgusting. Yeah. But now it's perfect.
It's so counterintuitive to like drink salt water first thing you get up in the morning. Like no one's going to go down to the seaside and with a pint glass and down the hatch kind of thing. But it replaces the electrolytes. It's like we drink a Lucozade Sport. Really, what's in Lucozade Sport is just orange water and like electrolytes, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of salt mostly.
Yeah, pretty much. I used to think of it as like minerals would be, because people talk about like, your macros and all that stuff with energy, but like that is actually processed by the machine that is your body. And I used to think of the getting proper vitamins and proper minerals in as like updating the machine or the cogs in the machine that help it work. Yeah. And I've just found that once I started taking more notice of my vitamins and then with minerals like that, just massive, just operating better. Yeah. Yeah. And then after I do that, then I would do a couple of other things. But in terms of what we were talking about there, then I would have, I'd make a cup of coffee, and I'd have about half of it, go off, do the rest of the stuff I have to do, come back, have another at least half shaker of water with vitamin C in it, down that, and then have the rest of my coffee and then go off.
Nice.
And I find when I get that balance right, or when I have that there, because I used to hate drinking water in the morning. It was the worst thing ever. When I first found out about doing it, I was like, this is terrible. And then the water was always too cold, and then it was hard to get down. You had a sore throat from it, and I just found in that order. Then suddenly I've got almost a litre of water into me. I've got my boost from the caffeine. I started taking it because I go to the gym then. It takes about 45 minutes for that to properly kick in. Yeah. So then it all seems to just hit the second I go in and go on the assault bike, and I just it worked it out that way.
Nice. Good way to start the day.
Yeah. Nothing better.
Nice.
Nothing better. So next thing I was going to ask you, Chris, is just like, and obviously you don't have to go into extreme, actually second by second detail. Would you be able to tell us like what's your morning routine? Because yours is obviously different to mine. It's different to other people's. This is, as we said, a personalised, effective morning routine for you. So it's personalised. So like potentially you wouldn't want to do what I'm doing. I wouldn't want to do what you're doing. We live very different lives. We have different goals. Some things are quite similar. Like the hydration thing is something that a human can't get away from. But maybe you went about it in a different way. Maybe you hate salt water, and maybe like I don't know. But so if you wouldn't mind telling us like the steps you would get through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think a morning routine actually starts the night before with an evening routine, and this is really important because a really bad evening routine will completely derail your morning routine. So the evening routine starts when I come home from school. The first thing I do is I actually have to like unpack my gym bag. I have to get it all ready for the morning before I'm allowed like have dinner or anything. I have to go in, I have to like throw the gym clothes in the wash, I have to pack it again. I have to lay out all my clothes for the next day, pick what I'm wearing, to school the next day, hang it all up. Even what I do is actually I put it in the car. So the gym bag's in the car, my clothes are laid out, running shoes, the bottom of the bed, the whole shebang. And once that's done, then I can kind of relax. I can have my dinner and stuff and kind of take it easy. One of the very important things I do though is at about kind of 8:30, 9 o'clock, my phone, I put that away. I don't look at it, I don't go near it. And the very good reason for that is that I don't want to be looking at all the blue light, because blue light from your phone, as we talked about here, it's basically like staring right at the sun. And what happens is that blue light stops the production of melatonin in your brain, which is basically the chemical that makes you sleepy. And so by putting the phone away, you're not only are you you're not going to stop the production of melatonin, you're also stopping the inputs of WhatsApps and Instagrams and Snapchats and emails. And you're kind of turning your brain off. Your brain doesn't have to think about other people's demands and requests. And that's a good way to relax you. I then try my best. Reading is something I'm trying to build habit-wise. And I'll pick up a book for half an hour, maybe from 9 to 9:30, read a bit. Now I do watch a bit of TV, don't get me wrong, love a bit of Netflix like the next man. And I'll watch a bit of Netflix, but the last thing I'll do is probably try to read a book or something. And then just try to go to bed. Now, when I go to bed, what's very important is if you try and go to bed at the same time every night, okay? Because your body loves consistency, it loves routines. So if you go to bed kind of the same time every night, you get into a rhythm of it and you can fall asleep much quicker. So I try to go to bed at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, which is quite early. Try to be asleep by 10, and then alarm goes off at 6. And try to get 8 hours in. 8 hours sleep is so important. People who say they live on 4 hours sleep, they're lying. It's just not possible. There's plenty of research out there. Go check it out. Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, one of the best books I've ever read. Is we need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So up at 6. First thing I do, and this is something I've actually injected into my morning routine, and this was something I resisted for years, was I download the Headspace app, and I'm attempting to meditate in the mornings just to kind of give it a go, really. And I'm about 10 days in now. I'm enjoying it. It kind of calms you. It clears out the mental clutter. You feel quite relaxed after it. So I do that first for 5 minutes. Then, like yourself, I don't actually put in salt, but I just drink loads of water. I'll try to drink about 600 mils of water, or maybe even a litre if I can. Make a cup of coffee, and I sit down with a little red notebook that's over there on the desk, and I'll plan out my day. Just like I said, for students, to do. The one thing you should do is write out your day. So I'll write out what I plan on doing each of the hours of the day with a time limit for each task. And if I have to meet someone, I'll put that in there. If I have to do a podcast, I'll put that in there. And that's great.
Get to do a podcast.
Get to do a podcast, which is always a treat. I'll write that in there. I'll also do this thing, you'll always hear people who are into this kind of, stoic kind of philosophical space, which I'm starting to explore, is practice a bit of gratitude. Write down something you're grateful for, because you can only experience one motion at a time. And if you try and live in gratitude as much as you can, you won't live in anger, stress, or frustration. So that's something I do as well. Then I actually don't eat breakfast. I go to the gym then for 7, and I'll go there for an hour and 15 minutes. I kind of have a plan again for the gym, for the day. I have a plan for the gym, and then come out of the gym by 8:15, have my breakfast at 8:30. Breakfast is made from the night before. Again, overnight oats in the fridge. Bring it with me. Good to go then. And that's essentially it. And then I start the day at 9. So that would be the same copy and paste day from Monday to Friday, with a little bit of variation then at weekends in terms of bedtimes and getting up times. And obviously there's not as much work at the weekend, but I would still stick as closely as possible to that routine of, good night's sleep, planning the day, hydrate, and exercise, kind of ticking the boxes that you'd mentioned there. But that's what I would do. I would also read for a book you gave me, The Daily Stoic, which is basically you read a page of this book every day. It just gives you a kind of a little nugget of wisdom to read. And I'd read that kind of at 6:05 in the morning, every morning, and think about it for the day. But it's really that consistency of that routine which helps me kind of predict what the day is going to be like. As in, I almost know if I do that, I'm going to have a fairly good day. Whereas if I don't, go better off. Things can easily derail you and kind of creep in and upset your productivity. For example, if you stay up really late on a Thursday night, you go to the cinema, which I did not too long ago. I saw a joke or saw Late Sitting. I didn't get home till about 12:30 at night. And yeah, I know. And it kind of like, it just has such a knock-on effect for the rest of the day. A little bit later, getting up, a little bit later, going to the gym workout wasn't as good, didn't have time to plan my day or meditate or read a page from a book. And it just kind of had a big knock-on effect on the rest of the day. But obviously we're human beings, like we're not absolute robots. Like we have to enjoy our lives and go to the cinema and whatever else you like doing. But that's essentially, in a nutshell, it's the key aspects of the routine itself that I try and stick to.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. What was the Daily Stoic today? Do you remember? Putting it on the spot.
The Daily Stoic today was all about like clarifying your intentions. So whatever you're doing, asking yourself, well, why am I actually doing this? What is the outcome here? And he talks about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is one of the most famous personal development books ever written. It's that starting with the end in mind. So if you're doing anything, like the Leaving Cert, or if you're studying or you're playing sport, like really ask yourself, like, just why am I doing this? And clarifying those intentions, because you go about your actions with a lot more purpose and intent that way, rather than just doing stuff for the sake of it, not actually realizing, is what it's for. It might be for someone else, and you actually your intentions are all wrong. If that makes sense. So that was what it was about today, and I enjoyed it.
Nice, nice, good book.
Jeez, I was nervous there.
Well, you didn't remember.
Yeah, I did though.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's good.
Yeah. So that's essentially it. So. I suppose I picked up a lot of those kind of insights from you. In fact, you were the one that really kind of got me motivated to get into the gym, and kind of showed me the way with in terms of exercise and the importance of that. So I do owe a lot of it to you, in fairness. So right back at you now. And there's something I said was, if you do have a bad evening routine, or you kind of, something happens in the evening that can derail you a bit. Let's just say you have a bad weekend where you kind of stuff just goes a bit haywire, and you kind of fall out of routine. And then Monday morning starts and you're kind of on the back foot. What would your strategy be to kind of get your morning routine back on the straight and narrow as quick as possible? Is there anything you do, or is there any kind of mindset you operate from to kind of put things back?
Yeah, there actually is, and that actually happened not too long ago. And this is probably something that you would disagree with, but basically the weekend took over, and I wasn't even going out or anything. It was just stuff was there, and then on my Sunday night to plan the next day. Sometimes on Sundays I used to have a problem, and it hasn't happened apart from this one time for ages, that I didn't plan my week. So simply what I did is I didn't worry about it. I was not in the frame of mind on the Sunday night to go ahead and plan the proper week for me. I was tired. I was probably just would have made a bad decision. I probably just done it for the sake of doing it. So what I did was I literally went to bed and set my alarm for 4 a.m. and just did what I would have done, except for really, really early in the morning. And that obviously that's not for everyone. Like people say like that's bad. I find that if I have hardly any, that night I probably had, say, 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
I put so much effort into my sleep quality since that you actually told me about the app. And remember, I told you about the thing that I put on my wall with all these different things that have to be done that are now just habits. Stuff like the magnesium before bed, stuff like the cold room, all that stuff, good stuff we talked about. That if I have a 5 hour a day where I only have 5 hours sleep, I'm actually fine the next day. If I do it twice in a row, then it starts to catch up with me.
Yeah.
So, but say, for example, if I was massively overwhelmed, loads of stuff going on, I know in school that I have three classes until I have a break, or 4 classes until I have a break. All I say to myself is, I just got to figure out what I'm doing right now, and then when I come into school, I just make sure that those first 4 classes are taken care of, because I know at break time, then I can take care of the next 3 classes, and then I have a break before class, and the next bit. So I don't have to do the whole day at once.
Yeah.
I can just make sure this is taken care of, and then I have another period of time to take care of the next thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually does. So you, rather than trying to get everything back on track all at the same time, you kind of you take it in bite-sized chunks. Mm-hmm. So you try and do one little thing at a time. So like we talked about climbing Everest, you don't just climb from the bottom to the top. Like you go to certain camps, Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3. So you kind of focus on the immediate priorities, and then as they're looked after, you focus on the next ones.
Yeah, in no way is it's just a tactic to help you do it. I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to do that every single day, because then you miss out on the other benefits that we had of like writing out your day, such as like what problems may arise and how could I affect things, and maybe how could I perform better in that. I end up kind of just making sure I get through it rather than kind of get from it. If I break it up like that, but at the same time, at least you still get through it. You're not finishing the day worse off than when you started.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's generally what I would do.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Something I would say about the morning routines that we were talking about there with your morning routine. So you were saying that you don't have breakfast. Now, I personally also don't have breakfast.
Well, I do. I just don't have it before the gym.
Okay, cool. And what do you think about students? Should a student have a breakfast? What would your? I know we're not.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I just wouldn't advise, what someone should eat or when they should eat. I think they should find out for themselves whatever works for them, because some people don't eat breakfast and swear by it. And other people say it's the most important meal of the day, and you can't. I just know for me, I don't eat before the gym because I feel ill in the gym. I know if I did.
Yeah.
And after the gym, I'm absolutely starving. So I eat because it satisfies that craving. And I know if I don't eat, then I'm starting my day off with, basically with the stress of being hungry, and that in itself is a bad way for me to go about the day. Where you've all sorts of people talking about intermittent fasting, all that kind of stuff. I just don't entertain any of that for me, because I just think that the way I have it now is something I've tried and tested and it kind of works. So I'd say each their own.
That's the exact answer that I hoped and I wanted you to give. That with loads of the stuff we're saying here, like for example, I don't eat till 12, but I completely understand what you mean from that. I've just found it's worked for me. Other people, this potentially wouldn't work. Whatever works for you, but like you said there was like a why behind it. There was actually tested reasons. It wasn't just, oh, that sounds good, I'll just do that. Because then one day you could be not eating, you could be doing the intermittent fasting. The next day you could be doing 10 meals a day, and then suddenly you're nowhere. So you found out what works for you in terms of your routine. So
that's it, 100%. And that's what morning routines are. Like, some people would laugh at meditation. In fact, I did for a long time. But I've actually started and tried it and kind of had a go, but I actually quite like it. And I feel I'm getting a bit of a benefit from it. Where some people might hate coffee and don't want to drink coffee, whereas I love it, I couldn't live without it. So like, you're going to pick and choose certainly different things that work for you. Some of them are constants though. Sleep, no matter who you are, sleep is important. Hydration, no matter who you are, hydration is important. And I think no matter who you are, exercise and movement is good for you no matter what. So they're like three of the key pillars, and there's many more, I'm sure, but definitely within those, I would suggest people try things out.
Yeah, because I know, for example, my old man has a routine that he's had every single morning for, I don't know, since he started work. But he always, first thing, he gets out of bed and then he gets in the shower, like first thing. Like literally, he's in the shower, the shower's on, he's in it within like 10 seconds. We obviously get that after the gym and stuff, but that, he says, that no, that just wakes me up. That gets me ready to go down. And when I used to live with my parents, that I'd be up a little bit before him. He was an early riser as well, but he'd come down and it would be like it's lunchtime. And he just had already set himself up in that way. But like, for us, like, we're not going to put that in before.
Absolutely,
but even actually Will Robbins, when he was talking about his one, he would get up and he'd have a cold shower before do a bit of movement, have a cold shower, maybe the other way around, before he actually exercised, and then had a proper shower for the day.
I think his morning routine puts ours to shame, and in fact most people's on earth.
But it was brilliant.
It was fantastic.
That's great. That's really, really good. Just one more thing on the meditation. I think Will said this as well. He thinks that meditation has like a marketing problem in what they say.
Big time.
But it's like, I find it's almost like yoga or something for your brain. Or that's not a good way of talking about it. But as you said, it gets rid of the mental clutter. And like, I used to laugh at it before, and then I used to feel bad when you laughed at me for doing it. But again, it's kind of about showing up mentally then, isn't it? Because there's all these pinging around distractions in your head. If you can actually be present and be in that one place at that one time, all the words you use with it though, like meditation or present, people are like, oh, get away from me, get away. But it doesn't even have to be, like the Headspace app I thought was fantastic. There's another one called Calm. There's countless ones on YouTube. But even just sitting there, and I remember one of my friends was, now I always get this wrong, it's either a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I don't know which, but basically he was talking about if you just set a timer on your phone and look at it. So he's talking about looking at your pen and looking at the divots in your pen and just noticing it, so you're completely, and when you kind of get distracted, you just go back to it.
Yeah.
Or some people have ones to do with breathing, and there's so much stuff out there, but they all do. Some people just pray.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing, I think, to really, if your mind is like a rough sea, kind of jump around, just calm it down, and then it just, again, you just show up better.
That's it, exactly. It's all about being present. It's all about not living in the past or worrying about the future. It's just like being present in the moment. And I think that's a very powerful thing to do. It makes you realise you're a human and all that good stuff. But like what I did was I found the meditation app Headspace was great, because like you could literally set it to 3 minutes, and that was the time. Or you can set it up to 10 minutes if you like. But I started off just doing 3 minutes a day, and like headphones in. Literally, some guy, I can't remember his name actually, it's Matt, I think his name is. Andy, I think it is.
Andy Pitticock.
Andy, yeah. Andy talks to you for 3 minutes. And he just relaxes you. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
I feel like I know him now. Actually, we're good friends. And he just talks to you for 3 minutes, and he just tells you to breathe and relax and focus on your body, and you feel great after it. And it's so easy. It's I tell people just to give it a go. It's not for you, Grant.
Yeah.
But definitely there are proven benefits to doing that every single day.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. Definitely 100%. There was one more thing you said that was interesting that I think we should bring up around this meditation stuff, is the gratitude idea. So that's something that I've had in my morning routine in the past, and a close mate of mine actually bought me this diary for my birthday, and I had a part. The first thing you do is talk before you fill out the rest of it. If it's for your day, it has 3 things you're grateful for right now. And I've actually noticed since I started doing it last Monday that starting off my day like that, I actually just notice things throughout the day that I'm grateful for, or I'm just sitting on the couch and I'm like, gee, this is a lovely couch, or just something small, or actually end up being more grateful throughout the day. And you said something that you can only feel that one thing at that one time. So if that's your default in your head, that you're feeling grateful for stuff, I just find that it actually just makes me happier and gives me more energy in
Absolutely,
general.
100%.
Versus, I know, I'm not pointing out other people, but I know some people who their default is just the habit that they've trained themselves into is to look like for the glass being half empty or something like that, or the bad thing, or it's cold outside instead of it's fresh, or it's lashing rain outside versus we're inside in a warm building, or something, it's real sunny outside and we're stuck in this warm building. I've just noticed in the last, I suppose, 8 days since I started really doing it again, the first thing in that journal every morning, that I've just shown up happier. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been grateful for where you are right now. Like if you feel like you need to, get something in order to be happy, you need to get a certain amount of points in the Leaving Cert, or you need to get a certain college course, or you need to be friends with certain people, you have to get a certain amount of likes on Instagram, or you have to get a certain car or a certain holiday to be happy. You'll never be happy, because as soon as you get those things, you'll just look at what the next thing you don't have is. Whereas practicing gratitude is all about being happy with who you are and what you have now. And if you can focus on being that frame of mind, you will be a lot happier, and you'll actually be a lot more driven probably to go and get all those things anyway. But it's all about being grateful, and I'm not waiting for someone else to give you permission to be happy. It's all about being happy now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So I think that's a good chat. Nice chat. Yeah. Because I see this. Any other questions?
No, I think you've answered them all now. It was great. Yeah. Very, very insightful. Yeah, as I knew it would be.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much. If you tune in again to next week, where we're talking about habits, and then myself and Chris will actually discuss then afterwards in a separate podcast our habits as well. Any feedback, any suggestions, let us know. We'll see you next week for Module 3, Developing Habits.
That's the one, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Okay,
Cheers.
cool. Thanks very much.